We are trying to find a business with a wide and long-lasting moat around it, protecting a magnificent economic castle with an honest lord in charge of the castle.
That's Warren Buffett, a classic.
It is, but it wasn't just pulled from, a textbook for today. That quote was actually used by a shareholder to describe the company we're looking at.
It's a really powerful image, isn't it? A castle, a moat.
Yeah.
But the company we're analyzing today, it isn't some medieval fortress. It's a 39-year-old industrial giant, and it operates out of Tierra del Fuego.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know the geography, is the literal southernmost tip of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, we are talking a harsh, cold, remote environment.
And in that environment, this company is, well, it's undergoing a massive renovation.
Exactly. And if you think this is just a story about an assembly line, putting together car radios or cell phones, you are in for a huge surprise. We're looking at their 2022 annual and ESG report, and frankly, the strategy is all over the map.
In a good way, you think?
Potentially. I mean, we've got refurbished phones, we've got stainless steel manufacturing, and then we have farming.
It does sound like a bit of a scattered mix when you just list it like that.
A little bit.
But my mission today is to show you that when you actually look at the strategy, it's a very deliberate attempt to build that moat we just mentioned. You have to look past the factory floor to really understand it.
So let's unpack this. A legacy manufacturer trying to reinvent itself. Where do we even start with a beast this size?
You have to start with the context, specifically the regulatory context. This company operates under something called Law 19.640.
Okay, hold on. Stop right there. Law 19.640 sounds incredibly dry. Why does a listener need to care about a statute number?
Because without it, the castle doesn't exist. This law is an industrial promotion regime.
Right.
Basically, the government wants people to live in Tierra del Fuego. It's strategically important, but geographically difficult,
to say the least.
So they created a tax-free zone. This allows the company to import components, chips, screens, all of it, without paying the standard, very heavy import duties. They assemble them there and then sell them to the mainland. It is the regulatory bedrock of their entire business model.
I see. So the moat isn't just their tech. It's this specific legal status that makes it profitable to manufacture at the end of the world.
Precisely. But even with that advantage, 2022 is a volatile year globally. Supply chains were messy, inflation was high.
So how did the castle hold up financially?
Well, the numbers are deceptive. On the surface, they reported sales of approximately $377 million.
$377 million. And how does that compare to the year before?
It represents a growth of about 2.54%.
2.5%. That feels stagnant. Actually, given inflation, isn't that effectively a shrinking year?
If you only look at the top line, yes. You might think the company's just stalling out, but this is why we do these deep dives. If you look under the hood, the company wasn't stagnant at all. It was churning. There were massive swings in different sectors.
Okay, break it down for us. What was moving the needle?
The absolute star of the show was television production. It exploded.
Exploded how?
Production went up by over 44%, and sales jumped by nearly 34%.
44% growth in TVs. Was that organic, or was there some kind of specific trigger for that?
Well, think about what happened in late 2022.
Oh, right. The World Cup.
Exactly. The World Cup effect is a real thing in consumer electronics. Everyone decided they needed to upgrade their screens, so that whole sector just boomed.
Okay.
The automotive sector was also solid. Their climate system sales grew about 8.5%. But, and this is the crucial counterweight, the mobile sector took a hit.
Phones went down.
They did. Production dropped about 2.4%, and sales were down roughly 2%. In the grand scheme of things, it's a slight dip, but mobile is usually the engine for them.
So what does this tell us about the strategy? If phones are down, but TVs save the day?
It completely validates the diversification. If they were purely a phone manufacturer, 2022 would have been a red year.
No question.
But because they had the capacity to pivot hard into TVs to capture that World Cup demand, the overall revenue stayed positive. It's all about stability.
Which brings us to the growing pains, right? You can't shift a giant industrial ship without hitting some waves. The report highlights a few big headaches, and the one that really seemed the most risky to me was this pivot to B2C, business to consumer.
This is a fundamental identity crisis for a manufacturer. For nearly 40 years, this company has been B2B.
Right.
They deal with massive contracts, factory clients, predictable logistics. If you make car radios for a major auto brand, You have one client to make happy.
And now they're trying to sell directly to people like you and me.
Exactly. In 2022, they pushed hard into retail, developing online stores, physical touchpoints, and the report explicitly mentions the struggle of interacting with the final consumer.
I can imagine. On a factory line, if a part is defective, you stop the line, you fix the machine. In retail, if a customer is unhappy, they leave a one-star review, they tweet about it.
They jam up your call center.
Right. It requires a totally different DNA.
It does. The report notes they had to build an omni-channel strategy and a specialized customer experience team, basically from scratch. They're learning that customer satisfaction isn't just about technical specs. It's about feelings, response times, branding.
It's such a high-risk move, though. Why do it? Why not just stay comfortable in the factory?
Margins and data. When you sell B2B, you're a step removed from the value chain. When you own that customer relationship, you capture more margin. And crucially,
The data.
you get the data on what people are actually buying.
Fair enough. Okay, let's talk about the second challenge, the location. We established that Tierra del Fuego is remote, but the report highlights the talent challenge.
It's the perennial issue of the region. How do you get a specialized engineer to move to a place with harsh winters, far from the cultural capital?
Yeah. You can't just post a job ad and expect 1,000 applicants.
Not at all. So they are trying to build from within. The data point that really stood out to me was their internal mobility. In 2022, 22% of their job searches were filled by people already inside the company.
That's almost a quarter of all positions.
It signals a desperate necessity, really, to retain and upskill their 2,292 employees. They can't treat labor as a commodity. They have to treat it as an asset because the replacement cost is just so high geographically.
Okay, let's move to the part of the report that really made me scratch my head. The new projects. Because this company didn't just sit there making TVs. They made some wild moves in 2022. The first one, steel.
Yes, the launch of ON Tech.
I have to be the skeptic here. This is an electronics company. They solder microchips. Why on earth are they getting into the heavy, dirty business of smelting and processing steel? It just feels like a distraction.
I completely understand the skepticism. It looks like diversification at first glance, but look at where that steel is going.
Where?
It's for the automotive industry. They're already selling radios and AC units to these car manufacturers. So by launching ON Tech to process stainless steel and manufacture special appearance parts, they're verticalizing.
So instead of just selling the guts of the dashboard, they want to sell the dashboard trim, too.
Exactly that. They're
Yeah.
trying to capture more value from the exact same clients. It deepens the relationship. If you're supplying the electronics and the visible steel components, you become a much more critical partner.
It makes you harder to fire.
It makes you much harder to fire.
Okay, so it's a stickiness play. I can buy that.
Yeah.
But then they did something that feels very
Yeah.
unindustrial. They launched Furbe.
Ah, yes. The circular economy play.
For you listening, Furbe is a brand they launched specifically to buy used cell phones, refurbish them, and then resell them.
And this is fascinating because it attacks a specific market failure. The market for used phones is huge, but it's just fraught with friction.
Right, it's shady. You meet a guy in a parking lot, you hope the battery works, there's no warranty.
Exactly. So who is better positioned to solve that trust deficit than the company that might have actually manufactured the phone in the first place?
Right.
Airfarty offers an official guarantee. They are industrializing the used market.
So they take a phone that would have ended up in a drawer, or worse, a landfill, fix it up with factory-grade parts, and resell it.
It does two things. One, it opens up a revenue stream in a lower price bracket. And two, it hits their sustainability goals by extending the device's life. It's one of those rare cases where green actually equals profitable.
Okay, I'm with you on the steel, I'm with you on the phones, but now you have to explain the farming. The report says they are aggressively expanding agribusiness.
This is the one that usually stumps people.
I mean, are they putting chips in the cows? Why is a tech company growing crops?
This goes back to the macroeconomic reality of the country they operate in. We can't ignore the currency restrictions.
Walk us through the mechanics of that.
To build a TV or a phone, the company needs to import kits, microchips, screens, batteries. Those things are all priced in foreign hard currency.
But the company sells its products in the local soft currency.
And in this specific economy, getting your hands on hard currency to pay those import bills is incredibly difficult, right?
It's the biggest bottleneck they face. The central bank restricts access to dollars. So the company looked for a solution. What sector generates its own dollars?
Exports.
Specifically, commodity exports. grains, oilseeds, proteins. By investing in agribusiness, they are growing crops that get sold on the international market. Those sales generate hard currency.
Uh-huh. So the farm is basically a currency printing press for the factory.
Essentially, yes, it's
Yeah.
a natural hedge. They use the proceeds from the agricultural exports to balance their trade deficit. It allows them to import the parts they need for the electronics business. It's a brilliant, if unconventional, survival strategy.
That is wild. It's financial engineering by way of agriculture. It's not about loving tractors. It's about liquidity.
Correct. And it also diversifies risk. If the tech market crashes, well, people still need to eat. But the primary driver is that currency loop. Let's pivot to ESG. Environmental, social, and governance. Usually these sections in annual reports are full of fluff, photos of smiling people planting one tree.
Right.
But you found some actual engineering in here.
I did. The Toyota Challenge is the real highlight.
Tell us about the water.
So they manufacture radios for the Toyota Hilux pickup. The manufacturing process, it involves painting and coating, which typically uses and ruins a lot of water. You end up with effluents.
A polite word for toxic sludge water.
It is, and usually that gets trucked away to be treated, which is expensive and wasteful.
Okay.
Right. The company implemented a new system to treat that water right there on the line. Imagine a localized filtration plant just attached to the production line. They separate the paint solids from the water so effectively that the water can be pumped right back into the nozzle.
That was a closed loop.
Almost. They reduced water consumption by 5.8% per unit.
That sounds small. 5%.
But multiply that by hundreds of thousands of units. It adds up, and they calculated it avoided 4.89 tons of CO2 emissions. But here's the kicker.
Go on.
They also switched to washing their transport pallets with distilled water.
Why distilled?
It seems counterintuitive, right? Distilled water is fancier, but because it's pure, it cleans more efficiently. You use less of it to get the same result. It just proves that sustainability isn't always about sacrifice. It's about process efficiency.
Moving to the S-social. We talked about the trouble hiring engineers. How are they fixing that?
They're building their own pipeline. They launched the Foundation Mirgor in 2022, and the key initiative there is the Samsung Innovation Campus.
Is that like a coding boot camp?
Basically, yes. They ran the third edition down in Rio Grande, and they're planning to expand it to the mainland. They're teaching coding and tech skills to local youth.
And this isn't just charity, is it?
Oh no, it's strategic. They are training the very workforce they need to hire in 5 years. If you can't import talent to Tierra del Fuego, you have to grow it locally.
Okay, now, governance. The honest Lord part of our opening quote. What's the verdict?
The headline number is zero. Zero corruption reports in 2022. For a conglomerate this size, especially one that's interacting with government regimes and customs constantly, that is a critical metric.
But are they policing their partners?
That's a new development. In 2022, they started auditing their suppliers on social and environmental grounds. By 2023, 38 suppliers had already completed this evaluation.
So if I want to sell screws to the company, I have to prove I'm not dumping chemicals in the river?
Eventually, yes. They're moving the goalposts. It's no longer enough to be the cheapest supplier. You have to be a clean supplier. This reduces their liability. If a supplier gets into a scandal, it splashes back on the castle.
Looking ahead then, what are the marching orders for the next year? What's the company focusing on?
The report lays out 3 big priorities for 2023. First is health and safety. They're gunning for the ISO 45001 certification.
And that's the gold standard for workplace safety, right?
It is. They're setting up ergonomic committees.
That sounds a little bureaucratic.
It sounds boring, but it's vital. When you have thousands of people doing repetitive motions on an assembly line, repetitive strain injury is a massive risk. Analyzing how a worker holds a screwdriver can save millions in lost time and injury claims.
What about the new businesses?
Priority 2 is getting that ONTech steel facility in Baradero fully operational. That moves the steel strategy from a PowerPoint deck to an actual production line.
Right.
And interesting for the consumer, their retail brand Digit is planning to launch electric mobility products.
Electric mobility, like e-bikes or something.
Likely scooters or e-bikes, yeah. It fits their electronics manufacturing skill set and the whole urban trend.
And the third priority?
Deepening those supplier audits. They want to expand the sustainability checks further down the supply chain. They're just tightening the perimeter of the castle.
So we've covered a lot here. We've gone from the frozen tip of South America to soy fields, from steel mills to refurbished iPhones. If we have to boil this all down for you, what are the 3 big takeaways?
Okay. First, diversification is survival. This isn't just a buzzword for them. By expanding into steel, farming, and retail, the company is hedging against the risks of being just an electronics assembler. They're protecting themselves from sector-specific crashes.
It's the don't put all your eggs in one basket rule, just applied at an industrial scale. What's number 2?
Efficiency is green. The Toyota water example proves that ESG isn't just about feeling good, it's about operational excellence. Saving resources saves money. The two goals are totally aligned.
And the third?
The castle moat. The combination of that regulatory regime law, 19.640, with their vertical integration and their currency hedging via agriculture. It all creates a formidable barrier to entry. It would be incredibly difficult for a competitor to replicate this complex web of advantages.
It really is a fascinating case study in adaptation. But I have to ask,
Is it too much?
that is the open question.
Right. Can you really be excellent at making car radios and growing wheat and running a retail store and making steel parts all at the same time? That's the risk of the conglomerate model. You can lose focus. The danger is that by trying to do everything to protect the castle, you forget to maintain the main keep. We'll have to watch the next few reports to see if the steel and farming ventures actually deliver the returns they promise, or if they just become distractions.
Well, that is something we will definitely keep an eye on. It's a great reminder that even 39-year-old giants have to hustle to stay alive.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gave you a new perspective on how industrial strategy actually works in the real world.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you on the next one.